What a time to be alive, to be a Star Wars fan.
Oh, this has been like an ongoing situation with like every time that I bring out a new video or say anything different, there's always going to be a bunch of people that are like tweeting about it, getting upset, right? They're upset because I called Star Wars Outlaws worst game of the year, which is actually, to be fair, it's not true. It's the worst game of the year so far. But other than that, I think that, you know, especially for pricing, this is, in my opinion, one of the worst pricing themes that I have ever seen. Single player, early access, pre-order, day one DLC, over $100.
It's almost like Diablo 4, isn't it?
This is a new low until they release the game after this. And then that will be a new low after that. This is a fun fact. I'm finally interested in a Ubisoft title after a long time because the game looks cool, but the protagonist doesn't look fuckable enough for incels, so it's immediately the worst game of the year.
Man, I love it. We're back to the good old, oh, you don't like this clearly disgusting female character that was based off an actually good-looking lady, but uglyatized because we're rogue dipshits? Well, you must be an incel. Ah, I miss these days.
So it's all of these people who didn't watch the video who think that I'm tweeting and talking about it because of the appearance of the character. Which, by the way, I don't care about at all.
Well, they're just looking at what you say and then assuming things for you because you don't talk about it. Which is exactly what you do, to be fair. So, you know, I think this is fair.
I never talked about this. This was never a point to me and never relevant in any capacity. It was always about the money that the game costed and the fact that I thought a Star Wars game without lightsabers, you might as well just call it, you know, like Space Wars or Space Battles or something like that.
Well, to be fair, there's gonna be no war in Star Wars or no space battle in Space Battles. That's how things work.
It's not Star Wars, it's Space Battles. So this is the reason why I thought that Star Wars Outlaws was dog shit. Okay. So number one, I do think that the character does have an uncanny valley, but that's not actually about the appearance of the character. It's not like I think she's ugly. I don't think she's really attractive either. It's kind of just a run-of-the-mill, like, generic protagonist. You know, I don't really have too big of an opinion one way or another. Sorry to say.
So where's the uncanny valley?
And so, yeah, just bland, right? Yeah, just bland. Kind of like the typical, you know, it's just a typical video game protagonist. That's about it. And that's not really too big of a deal. I think the graphics in the game look really good. It just, in general, the game looks good. But outside of the game looking good, what else really is there to be excited about? Like, the Star Wars universe doesn't really excite me that much as like that much of a fan. Like, at least it only excites me in the context of like the Force and like Jedi and stuff. And I feel like that's like the main component of the Star Wars universe is like this whole idea of like this fucking like the mysticism of the Force.
Okay, I agree with this opinion, even though it is stupid technically. You know, Star Wars is a little bit more than Jedi. But I understand why people would want to see Jedi and Star Wars games and whatnot. It does make sense.
And so if you take that out of Star Wars, like, what's really compelling about it? I don't really think there's anything that's uniquely compelling about Star Wars, because if you take that out of it, then I would say Dune is like an infinitely better like fantasy universe. I'd say Warhammer is an infinitely better fantasy universe. So like the only thing that makes Star Wars special and cool is the one thing that is the one thing that they seem to not give a shit about. Dune is so good. Well, I'm talking about like the world building of Dune, right? Not just like the movie, but like just what goes into the existence of the game or the world. Sorry about that. And so,
okay, now I don't like what he's saying, because the reason why these Star Wars games can exist and they can be good even though you're not a Jedi is because it still feels like Star Wars. It looks like Star Wars. Everything that happens in it and you see is distinctively easy to spot Star Wars. Okay, so, you know, taking lightsabers out of Star Wars doesn't make it a bland generic fantasy type of thing, okay?
That's another reason why I'm not really excited about Star Wars Outlaws, is because it feels to me like it's a Star Wars game for, I guess, what you would call general audiences. So that means it's a game that isn't really meant to appeal to the people that are fans of Star Wars. And I say this as somebody who, you know, growing up, I had like the Lego prequel Darth Maul with the lightsaber, and, you know, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn. You know, I had all the old little, you know, fucking Legos, and I love Star Wars. And, you know, we'd have those, remember those plastic things where you'd throw it, or like you'd like throw it forward, and then like the light thing would come out, because it'd be like different sizes of plastic, and it would look like a lightsaber, and we'd fight with those all the time out in like the front yard and in the street. It was so fucking fun, right? So I love Star Wars. I think Star Wars is great, but whenever I see a game like Outlaw, I just don't really feel like it appeals to me that much. And I don't think that it appeals to a lot of people. But really, the problem with Star Wars Outlaws and why it's so bad...
Yeah, I can understand this. Pretty generic, but yeah, this is reasonable. A lot of people feel like this. Star Wars is about lightsabers. There's more things going on in Star Wars than lightsabers, but, you know, if you have never cared about anything Star Wars, just the movies, then yeah, it makes sense why people don't think of Star Wars anything else than just, you know, lightsabers. The Star Wars universe is kind of interesting. There's a lot of different things going on there. So, yeah.
Actually doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the gameplay, because the gameplay seemed mediocre. I mean, it seemed like the
gameplay seemed... I don't know what to even describe it, honestly. It wasn't great. And, well, did we even see any real gameplay? I don't know, but it's Ubisoft, okay? You're gonna have the most generic Assassin's Creed gameplay probably ever seen by man. That's probably not gonna be a good thing. That's probably not gonna be good.
Gameplay was like a solid 5 or a 6, right? Look, guys, it wasn't a 3. It was a 5 or a 6.
I didn't like Star Wars Outlaws because the story just seems bland, stupid mush. You're the most known newcomer in the underworld, but you need to then magically prove yourself. You're essentially the bestest ever off the start, and then you're not the bestest ever because you need to go and do side quests first. It's really strange, and the story plot doesn't make sense. You angered the most influential dude in the underground universe, and he wants you dead. And now your options are to steal from him, so that magically saves you. I don't know how. Also, unless you do this, you're never gonna be free. I don't know how you're not free, because clearly you're free enough to travel wherever you want to different planets and whatnot, but you're not magically free. I don't understand this.
6. But a 5 or a 6 isn't really going to get me excited, number one. The real problem with this is the price of the game. The price of the game is outrageous. I feel like day one DLC is unacceptable. I think that if gamers could boycott any one thing, it's day one DLC. I think that whenever you buy the game, you should get everything inside of that box. And the idea that there are...
Haha, but there is no box. How about that?
Things inside of that box that you don't get because they want to paywall them and make you pay for them later, that is, in my opinion, like extremely consumer unfriendly. And that's what makes it the worst game of the year. I don't care about the way the character... Who gives a fuck about that? Who cares?
I mean, he's definitely lying when he says the character doesn't matter, because he has multiple times said, I remember this, that he wants to play only male characters, so playing with a female is kind of like a big no-no. So don't you lie about this. The character obviously matters.
Cares? Like, if the Fable game is good and the character's ugly, yeah, it's gonna be cringe, but who cares? Like, it's still gonna play the game.
Yeah, what are the chances now that the Fable game is gonna be good, though? Yeah, seems like a big no. Because the Fable game was made by people who have a critical acclaim 20 years in the past, but now they have worked on literal woke garbage in the past, and that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, I'm not putting a lot of stock in the Fable game, okay?
What are we talking about here? I don't mind DLC if they're like The Witcher Xenoblade, the size of a whole new game. I don't really think that it matters how big the game is. I think that people should have a principled stance that whenever you purchase a video game, you should expect to not have parts of that video game paywalled because you didn't purchase some extra transaction. I just find that to be like a very consumer unfriendly practice, and I think that it's harmful for everyone. So yeah, I mean, there are definitely...
But you're still gonna do it. I mean, principles only matter if you apply them. Having principles and saying neat little things that appeal to the masses and whatnot are nice, but at the end of the day, if your principle says this is bad, I shouldn't buy it, and you end up buying it anyway because your principles are, turns out, dirt cheap, well, you know, that also shows something.
There's a spectrum of how bad something like this is, and like some games have worse day one DLC than other ones. True, right? Absolutely. However, look, that doesn't mean that they're all on the spectrum of bad. It's not like one side is good and the other side is bad. It's one side is awful and the other side is bad. So they're all on the bad spectrum. And so yeah, I saw a lot of people that were very unhappy about what I said. I'll read a few of the comments, and people that that had opinions about this will still not be buying it due to the way they handle PC versions and non-existent game ownership on their launcher, but I find it very sad this is not discussed enough while attention is given solely to the character looks.
Ubisoft, but there, you're not gonna own games and you should get used to it, loser. Good times, good times. Who doesn't love that sentence? Who does not love that sentence? I personally love it, because that just gives me a free pass to pirate anything Ubisoft and not even feel remotely sad about it.
Now, what is the one thing that every screenshot of my videos doesn't have on Twitter? What is the one thing that it doesn't have?
No idea.
It doesn't have the red bar. What happened to the red watch bar?
Well, yeah, that's obvious, I guess.
Man, that is crazy, isn't it? Yeah, attention wants solely given the looks. Why is this person lying? Well, what you have to understand is that a lot of people on Twitter are basically like, so I wouldn't say that they're gorillas or monkeys, right? But I wouldn't say that they're people either. They exist kind of in like a middle space in between the...
People on Twitter just want attention. And this is kind of an easy way to get attention. Because, you know, there's usually two sides to every argument. You just need to pick a side and farm it.
Two things. So whenever you see them type something like this or say something, it's just like, oh yeah, for sure they'd say that because, you know, like, it's a fucking idiot, right? And that's it. It's the missing link. Yeah, you guys thought we couldn't find Bigfoot? We see him every day. He's on Twitter. Asmongold has lost every ounce of credibility and is nothing more than a grifter at this point.
True. We have watched those. They're pretty funny.
None of these people actually watched the video. I haven't watched the video. I actually think she's very pretty.
That's a lie. Why didn't he? Let's actually read the comment. I haven't watched the video, but I think I saw a post about Asmon criticizing pricing and early access, which, to be honest, yeah. Hey, come on. This guy's. You see how he just throws away this because he instantaneously assumes this is bad? Typically, people who just start with, hey, I haven't watched the video, but they probably have a take that's not insane because they admit they haven't watched the video.
I actually think she's very pretty. Asmongold, like I will take anything from this guy. If you watch the video, how is this your takeaway? Nowhere does it say or imply that. Man, it's kind of weird that you have this many people that are tweeting and talking about me all the time. Like, I'll wake up and there'll be like thousands of people.
Well, that's true because you do say a lot of dumb and stupid fucking shit constantly. I mean, it's unavoidable.
People that have like tweeted about me and talked about me, about like some video I did. And the best thing about it is that all of these people are talking about something that didn't even happen. Which is kind of funny. But other than that, yeah, free publicity. Well, yeah, it's a whole ecosystem, man. It's crazy, isn't it? Just free advertising for your channel. It is. It is, and I think it's funny. The sloppy.
It is. I mean, that's how every famous person works. Elon Musk wakes up and there's 20 articles about him farting once. Jeff Bezos exists. There you go, that's an article by the Washington Press about how amazing he is. But, you know, you get the point. Anyway, that's pretty much it. This was Squizzer Said, thanks for watching. Subscribe, I'm Valentine, have a nice day. And man, is it a great time to be a Star Wars fan.